When I saw these little piggies, I knew I had to use this material to make something. So I decided to make my daughter another scrub cap, and I thought you might like to watch. I started by cutting a piece for the crown, the band, and the ties. Now I can't give you the exact dimensions because this is a paid pattern, but I can give you the link if you want it. I started by sewing a hem on the bottom of that band. I just did a double roll to make it look nice and neat, and I used my iron to iron that edge in place so that it would be easier to sew. And I'm lining up my edge with the edge of the foot to give it about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Next, I'm going to stitch my ties. I use my iron again to iron those edges inward and under. And I am just going to stitch close the top, the open edge, and then the bottom of each tie. There are 2. Now it's time to pin the crown and the band together. So you'll want to line that up at the center and with the right sides facing each other. Then you're just going to start working around the edges, pulling them together and pinning them. And if they don't line up perfectly even at the end of each side, for me, that's okay. I can fudge it a little. I am not a professional seamstress by any stretch of the imagination, so as long as I can make the end product look pretty nice, it works for me. Then the next step is to start sewing those pieces together. So I'm going to start at one edge, again, just leaving that seam allowance even with my foot, and pulling those pins out as I go around, but trying to kind of keep that shape as I go. And you'll want to kind of stop every now and then just to make sure that the underneath is staying flat and you're not sewing anything that you shouldn't. Now this next step is optional, but I do it because it just gives it a nice finished look. I flip it over and I sew around the seam on the crown part of the hat. And it just kind of sews that inside seam, tacks it down a little bit, and then gives it just an outside seam that looks really nice. Now it's time to work on the back side. So I start by folding it up just one time and stitching a quick seam there. Then I'm going to fold it over again, but this time I'm going to tuck my ties inside and pin them down so that I can get them sewed into my seam. You're going to do the same thing on both sides, positioning each tie as far to the edge as you can. And then I'm going to sew just a bottom seam across those ties and along the edge of the cap. And before I close it up, I'm going to add in a piece of elastic. And I'm going to start it here, back stitching back and forth right underneath that tie. And then I have it cut to where it sticks completely out the other end because I really just don't want to dig for it later. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch across that opening there. And then I'm going to pull the elastic until it's as scrunchy as I want it to be. And then I'm going to do another quick back and forth stitch a couple times to hold it in place. Then I can just snip away that extra elastic and my hat is nice and stretchy. And here's my finished cap. I think it turned out super cute. I just love these little piggies. They are adorable and hopefully it will be comfortable to wear. It's not perfect by any means, but it was made with love. Thanks so much for watching this video, and as always, I hope it inspired you to get a little crafty. Have a blessed day.